2015 sports management company. Since its inception in 2007, we have been working and contributing extensively for the development of the sports scenario within this country. We have come up with this webinar program because of the current lockdown that we all are stranded in this country. And also we are doing the soft launching of the Indian Football Business Awards through this webinar series. And the official award ceremony will be held in Kolkata in the month of December 2020. Before I start the session, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all our sponsors, our speakers, our spectators, and the entire IUSM family for making this project a reality. Thank you, everyone. I would request our audience to kindly switch off their microphones at all times. Meanwhile, as the meeting is being conducted, you may send in your questions in the Google Meet chat box or in our WhatsApp groups. We have Shoham and Shayan here with us, who will be jotting down your questions, and our guest will be answering them at the end during the audience interaction session. So without further ado, let's start today's webinar. The topic for discussion is development initiatives for football in India. And to speak on this, we have with us President Football Delhi, which is the Delhi Football Association, consultant FIFA and AFC, strategic consultant ICC, the man who has been a pioneer for the development of the Indian football, Dr. Shaji Prabhakaran. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for accepting our invitation and agreeing to share your valuable knowledge with us. Thanks for being a part of this.
My pleasure. Looking forward to this discussion today. Thank you.
Sir, before I get into the questions that delve directly into today's topic, I would like to ask you if you could please tell us something about the inspiring journey of your career in football.
I'm born in Kerala, brought up in Bengal, that too in the north part of Bengal, Duars area. And from 8-year-old, I've started getting involved in football, and was very fortunate that we had a football ground very nearby, and we started playing. But though at that time we never had any coach or anything, we just continued to play. But it was a seasonal game, and there at a very young age, 14 15, I got into the main team of that area, that club, which is formed under a tea garden called Binaguri Tea Garden there, Duars area. And and at school there was not much football. Rest other sports were there, but I was into all the sports, because at that time it was kind of a seasonal. Football will be till August and or September sometime, and then the cricket, volleyball, other sports will start. So we grew up playing all sports, till 16, 17, and then after when I started my college education. From there, I started getting a good training and all. But then again, it was too late for me to because by that time my basics were not that great, but worked hard, and played university level, at the state level. But then I could not reach to the top of the game because I got injured very early when I was 21. 21. It was really hard for me to come back, because the injury was very, very serious, because I torn all my the ACL, and it was really difficult to come back. Though I tried for 2 years, but I could not, because the treatment at that time and the rehabilitation were not that great. But yeah, anyhow, my focus was football at that time, and I thought, okay, let's dedicate my life into football. And I focused on my education, sports education, and completed my doctorate. And while doing my doctorate study, I focused on Indian football. I've researched on Indian football very 4 years with a lot of energy and dedication, and I have got to know what it lacks, what are the strengths, what are its weaknesses, what are the opportunities, and I've completed my research in 2000. And then I got into straight away into coaching, done some research, some teaching, all different kind of activities in football and sports, and lucky to get involved in Chandigarh Football Academy. For 4 years I worked there, produced international players at the youth team. And at one go, we had 6 players in the under 14 India team in 2003, which was really brilliant for us. Country of billion, and for 6 of our boys playing for India at one go, it was really brilliant. It was really great movement. And then I got into AFF, was managing the national teams, youth, coach education, everything. And then for 5 years I was there, and then got opportunity to work with AFC, and also started my own company in between. And then I moved to FIFA, got all the great experience working with FIFA. Uh, because of FIFA, I've done a lot of projects outside India as well, in many countries. And you know again, when 5 years done, and then I thought, I didn't wanted to kind of continue after my contract got end there. And then I thought I have to do something else, and I was focusing on local football and other consultancy work. And it fortunate, got involved in a club, and then I found that we need to improve the structure, improve every aspect of football in Delhi. And that's how I got contested the Delhi election, and luckily won. And that's how I've become a president of Football Association in Delhi. It's a huge responsibility, and then simultaneously I am working with many organizations in India and across the globe, uh, in football specifically, and many other activities, many other projects also I'm doing as part of my professional work. And it's been a great journey, but it's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's a struggle. But then if you are kind of passionate, have that honesty and integrity towards anything, you will reach there. But I'm satisfied with whatever I have done. And we have to do a lot. And that is where I'm really blessed to discuss with everyone, and try to see how others can also get involved themselves. And there's long way to go for Indian football. And hope I can make some contribution, and see that Indian football is benefited in a way whereby many can contribute, because we cannot move things with one or two people, but we need millions to get involved. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So yes, sir, definitely we would all like Indian football to develop and reach the heights. That is the wish for every Indian fan. Rarely do we get a chance to speak to such a personality as of yours, who has delved himself into so many different avenues, so many different ventures. So if we could speak a little bit about yourself, as it is in sync with our topic today. So why don't you give our viewers a sneak peek into your book, Back to the Roots?
See, the back to the roots. I always wanted to write a book. Since my research days, 96, 97, I thought I should write a book. Based on my research that was on Indian football. But then, I didn't have that kind of motivation after started working, because it was too struggle. The life was very much struggling, and then there was no time. And then when I was started working with FIFA, I realized that still football is number one sport in the world, but still there is lot can be done. Not only in India but many parts of the world. So therefore, based on my experience, I thought I should must write a book which share my experiences, my knowledge, so that those who are becoming part of football, those who are part of football can be benefited. And that's how I titled is Back to the Roots. Basically, it's all about how football should be developed, how it should be tackled, and how it should be done in a very comprehensive and holistic manner. And the focus of the book is also a lot on grassroots football, because that I believe in, because without a strong grassroots, we cannot have a strong football at the end. So therefore, the whole idea of the book was, present the best practices, give ideas, give my knowledge, give my experiences, and I'm very satisfied that the book is really doing well in terms of the objective what I had, because it's been used across the world now, by many countries, by many sports administrators, those who are specifically handling development. And in any Asian country, if you go, the national federation, who they have this book, and they are following some of that, and they have to, adjust to the realities as well. But I'm very happy because there's been this book in Europe also, in some of the universities they are using it as part of their syllabus as well, which is really very encouraging for me. And that has given me energy to write maybe one or two more books in the times to come. Yeah. And it's been a very very fulfilling writing that book. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, sir, on the tremendous success of your book. Now, if we could move on from more of your personal ventures to the new work that you are doing with the Delhi football, the Football Delhi. Sir,
Yes.
recently we've heard that you've introduced the smart card in Football Delhi. Why did you feel this is important? And I don't think most of our viewers would know about it. So, if you could just explain its relevance and its significance.
See, the smart card initiative is one of the kind initiative, because the whole idea, the whole objective was to digitize football administration management. Yeah. And we had this vision as soon as I took over this position. And since that time, we were working on this, but we were not finding the right partner. That's how it delayed a bit. But then fortunate enough to get a company from Spain. That company is working closely with Barcelona fan management, and it's called Open Trends. They helped us to develop the complete software, and it is called Football Connect in our system. And with this, every player, every referee or a coach or a football administrator who becomes part of us will get the smart card. The smart card is becomes a very unique ID, and it contains your basic data, and it gives you a kind of a, this is a football passport for Delhi. And this, once this is stored in our data system, and it will be there for lifetime. And with that, we wanted to create an affiliation and association with everyone who plays football in Delhi. Unfortunately, with because of this COVID, we are not able to use that right now, because we just launched in January only, in February, just before the COVID, um uh, the pandemic started. And this was the time where I could have reached out to all those players. But yeah, we will definitely make this as an integral part. And because that with that we have extending a lot of benefits as well. Whoever is our partner, they can give value to the partners, and also partners can derive value. So it is a very what do you say, uh, win-win for everyone, not only for players, but for the association, but for also for our stakeholders, also for our partners. So it was designed, it was on through a futuristic thought process, because we want to bring in the whole football management online, yeah, and want to digitize every aspect of it. So therefore, this was just the beginning, and we could have we going forward. This smart card would do multiple things. Yeah, like you don't need to buy a ticket to enter the stadium. Yeah. So many aspects, yeah, and merchandising, so many value additions can be done through that. So therefore, it was through that process, that thought process, we initiated this, and there was, we could register nearly 5,000 so far. That's again a big number. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that, sir. I would like to let our viewers know that Football Delhi is the first state association in our country to digitalize a concept like this. So kudos to Football Delhi on that. Now, moving from moving from the smart card initiative to other developmental work that you're doing as far as Football Delhi is concerned. Recently, there have been developments where the football fans in Delhi are to run football clubs in Delhi in association with the Football Association in Delhi. Sir, what is your vision in this regard?
See, the whole objective behind that was, how to connect fans with the club, and because there is huge number of fans we have, who follows, European football, European clubs, and also, ISL, and what we needed is, a local association, and fans getting connected to local clubs, and to create that energy locally, which is required. And these fans have, anyway, they are passionate, they have, they can do anything for football, and it was with that thought process this was done, and we could connect two fan groups with two clubs. And I believe, it was a learning for everyone, for both for the fan club as well as for us, but also for other clubs also, those who got associated. And this can work, this can work, and this can really bring back the energy to football at a local level, because Delhi football local league was really popular. It was a capacity stadium when, big clubs used to play, local clubs used to play in Delhi. So that unfortunately is not there, last 10, 15 years, which we wanted to bring back. It cannot happen in a day or in a year. It is a process. And we had a plan to launch the Premier League this season. And I don't know, how far we will be successful in launching that this season, because of COVID, and its impact on, various aspects of our life and economics as well. But the whole idea was to build towards that, because when we launch a Premier League, at least, we can showcase a big change, big engagement, and fan coming to the stadium, supporting the local teams, not in big number, to at least to begin with some, 100, 200, 500 to start with. And this can be done, without, the fan base, and those existing fan base club, fan clubs, they are really a very, positive minded people, and they have a lot of energy, and they are very creative, and they want to do something in football. That's how I thought, that can work. Let's try, and we have made an attempt. Yes.
Well, we hope that the Delhi Football Association will be successful in whatever future endeavors they may be looking into. Now, moving on to women's football, sir, how can the status of women's football be elevated according to you? And if I could kindly ask your views along with that on something more specific. Recently, you conducted two polls on Twitter regarding women's football. In one of them, most of the people believe that a revamped Indian Women's League would help women's football, and a lot of them in another poll believe that yeah. And hello,
Yeah, I can hear you.
you can hear me, sir? Sorry for the mistakes. Yeah, so a lot of them also believe that Indian women's team will be able to qualify for the Women's World Cup in 2027. So if you could please give your views on both of these topics.
See, I, they wanted to engage, and start a conversation. And I thought the poll is one of the best way to capture uh, that and engage with, initiate the conversation with a lot of people who are hooked to football. And that's how I've organized a lot of polls in this month in April. I think more than 10 or 12. So these two aspect, for women's football. One was on what is that need to be done, which can elevate the status of women's football in India, or help in development. So therefore, many of them, majority of them stated that the Indian Women's League need to improve, need to have a longer league, and that's how the women's will get more opportunities. Yeah, I also believe that, because the competition is key, and the right now IWL is a shorter duration. It is like a tournament which really doesn't give sufficient number of games to our girls, our women players, because if they play less number of games, it hardly helps, for their development. And we also will not be able to engage them for a longer duration of time, and that is what is required. And so this is very important, because how we can do IWL in a way whereby girls can play, now they are playing, 6, 7, or 8 matches. How they can play 20, 25 matches, or from the state level to the qualification level to the senior, when they play at a centralized IWL. So that is very much required. So that structure need to come, because the women players are playing very less in India, across the age group. It is not only about senior players, across the age group, whether they are 12-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, 17-year-old, all are playing less number of matches, because there are less number of leagues, there are less number of matches, less number of teams. So therefore, until unless we, and this need to be regionalized, because IWL, mm, to host typically like a I League or ISL, it will take some time, because commercially it might not work, right now, because nobody will be there to pump that kind of money into that league. But then we can innovate in a way whereby, how regionally we can do, and and that should also become part of IWL, so that the cost, comes down significantly. Those clubs who are participating, they don't have to think to put a lot of money into it, because more money it demands, then the lesser will be the participation, because nothing is recoverable right now. That we need to be mindful, because when we organize competition or initiate things, the cost is very important. It is not only organizational cost, but the team's cost, because they are putting a lot of money into it. Because if the budget goes beyond a point, it is very difficult. So therefore, we need to be very, very thoughtful in that, because the teams, you we can already see that those who are ISL teams, I League teams, cannot manage another team. That's why they could not even form a team, because it's a cost. So therefore, nobody wants to put additional cost to start another team, and therefore more specific women clubs came in. Yeah, but at the end, Gokulam won, because they had a more inclusive and more visionary approach. Yeah, that's again a very very good. Need those kind of clubs, which really which is inclusive, and which really dedicates budget and promotes women's football. But everyone cannot do it, because there is a lot of constraints in it. So that is one area we have to really work. How our girls can play more games, and that will have a great impact on our participation, development of football. And on the other point of India qualifying for 2027 World Cup, yeah, the possibility does exist, because from the next World Cup, the number of teams are it will be 32 teams, and that would increase the quota from Asia. And what we have to target is how we can be go to the top six, top seven, top eight in Asia. And we need to work hard for next 4 5 years. We have the potential. Our girls are also capable. What they need is more exposure, more competition, more better training, better facilities, and encouragement, motivation, and they can really do. But we need to have this a 4 year 5 year plan now. And because the qualification will start 2015 to 2025 sometime, and we need to be ready. And before that, we have to think whether we can really go for the Olympics as well, whether 2024 we should target or 2028 we should target, because Olympics for women is also the the top players plays there. It is not like men's where under 23 plays. So here, so that we need to have a very very strong plan, and a very comprehensive plan, a very realistic one, and we need to engage more stakeholders into it. And that's how we might be able to, because I'm quite confident, because the potential is there for women to qualify for World Cup. If not 2027, 31, there is a huge possibility.
We all hope that sincerely that happens. Well, sir, before I move on to the next set of questions, I would like to remind our audience to keep sending in their questions for Dr. Shaji Prabhakaran here, and he will be answering them at the end of the session during the audience interaction part. And also, please keep your microphones switched off at all times. I can see a lot of new people have joined us today. We would like to welcome all of you to Indian Football Business, a growing industry, brought to you by Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group. Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group is a ISO 9001-2015 leading Indian sports management company. We have contributed and worked immensely for the development of the sports scenario within the country. Through this webinar program, we are doing the soft launching of the Indian Football Business Awards, and officially the award ceremony will be held in Kolkata in the month of December. I would also take this opportunity to invite Dr. Shaji to the Indian Football Business Awards in Kolkata in December 2020. Of course, we will be sending you a formal invitation, sir, but this is I'm doing this on the air for now. So, and also I would like to remind all our audiences that if you want to get any other information about our company, you can go and check out www.ideasports.com. And if you want any information on the Indian Football Business Awards, you can check out www.indianfootballbusinessawards.com. And also, if you could not watch any of our webinar sessions, or if you want to watch our webinar sessions yet again, you can go to Pink TV India channel on YouTube. Thank you so much, everyone. Well, sir, moving ahead, staying on the subject of development of Indian football, you've been very closely associated with the development of Indian football since the turn of the century. What do you feel like? How have we developed if we compare ourselves to the rest of the Asian nations or to world standards for that matter?
Let's see, our development started in a way in last decade only. Real development work. So therefore, it is at a very infancy stage of football development. When real football development, because we were totally dependent on our natural talent, yeah, and we were not structured, we were not that professionalized, in every way. So, but we cannot really go back and blame everyone for whatever situation it was. But right now, what I feel is we are working at our 5% potential. So therefore, we have still long way to cover, also to compare to the best of the Asia, even like say what Japan does, what Korea does. Yeah, we are far away from that, because right now we have still huge gaps in our structure, in our system. Because if you look, we have only few clubs which are strong. Yeah, a country like we have 1.3 billion people. We need 400 to 500 active clubs who can engage with local talent, produce youth players, runs a grassroots program, community program. Yeah, so we need those active 400 to 500 clubs in our system. Right now, active number of clubs, those who work 365 days, are less. It's not enough compared to what the population we have. So that's why I'm saying it is 5% more right now. And in every aspect, we need more stakeholder participation, because many of us are working in silos. Yeah, and it is not a kind of uh, shared vision or a common goal we are working, which is a huge opportunity. So therefore, there's a huge opportunity for us to pool in resources and work as one. And our state associations need greater support. They need to build their capacity. They need to build the right structure at the local level, because our states are bigger than many of the European countries which are good in football. Yeah, so that is the kind of situation we are. So though compared to where we were in say uh, uh, in 90s, we are much better right now, and we are in the right path, and we are progressively improving. Yes.
It is definitely very encouraging to know that, sir. Now, what are your views, sir, about Indian footballers plying their trade abroad?
No, it is must happen, because if our players are seen playing abroad in best of the leagues, then it will encourage more and more youth and children to become part of football, and that must happen. And our players, it's just matter of time, where we will find a talent who can be seen in the best of the European leagues and the best of the club. Maybe 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years down the line, we will have players, and that's how we will be able to create that energy in the system, where the parents will say, "Oh, you have to play football and should become a player like somebody who is there." And we need that icon, and that is what is also a missing link in our system, which is it is we have enough talent, but we have to create enough opportunities for them, so that those talents continue to remain in football, and they get the path to really aspire and get nurtured in a way, so that they land up at Europe.
Of course, sir, we all hope that more and more players go on to play for the top five leagues in Europe, if not the top five leagues, maybe the other top 10 leagues. Well, sir, staying on the subject of Indian football, of course, you have been an advocate for the 3+1 rule. I would like to ask you that why do you feel it's required in Indian football? And just to add a follow up on that, recently there was a media company who were interviewing Jose Antonio Havas, who is, of course, the ISL winning coach this year. He's won the ISL twice, of course. So what he said is, and I quote, "I don't agree with this proposal. If an Indian player is good, he has got quality, he will play for us sure. My view is the current model should continue for at least 2 or 3 years as we wait for the work started at the academies to bear fruit. We have to wait for the right moment. More doesn't always necessarily mean better."
See, he has his your point, his point of view, that based on his experience he must be telling, because he really can't understand what India is. Though he might have spent that many years in India, he has only dealt that particular team and that batch of players. And he, as a coach, he definitely would like to, sign a Messi or a Ronaldo even. Yeah, that is any coach view. So therefore, I don't disagree with what he says. But my view is very clear, because we have to, you know, provide more opportunities to our players, and ultimately, when we play at the international level, our players are only going to play. It is not the foreigners will play for our team. Yeah. So therefore, if they don't get the game time uh, uh, in a local league, they won't be competitive enough to play for the national team, and that situation is really bad. And the players who warm up the bench because they are Indians, it is not going to help them to develop. Even they might be super talent, and if 3+1, it gives more opportunity for Indian players, and then it becomes consistent with other Asian countries, and also it is helpful for the clubs also, because if say now FC Goa is going to play the AFC Champions League, therefore they don't have to readjust their squad or a team, finding changing their entire strategy even, because let's be consistent, and that's how we will be able to develop our players, develop our football, and encourage more Indian players, because ultimately our national team must do well at the international level, and we have the potential, but our players need game time, and those competitive minutes and hours makes a huge difference, of and that is what I personally feel it should happen. May not be this season, but at least going forward from next, the following season it should be, because uh, that would will have a multiple impact on our football, which is very important.
Well, sir, you've been involved in developmental initiatives, not only in India, but also several other parts of the world. And you have seen how football development takes place very closely. In that regard, why do you feel that the northeastern part of India has been so successful in developing and producing Indian footballers, not just for the club teams, but also for the national teams?
See, the Northeast, one important aspect there is the community involvement, community participation. Yeah, and football has become their part of life, and there is a lot of support also comes from the local government, and also the local community leaders also get involved in football, and their local clubs are also being formed as part of a community initiative, and therefore there is greater participation, though they are not blessed with that kind of resources compared to other parts of the country, but still their participation number is high compared to the population, and more and more activities they organize, and there is a huge support coming from the local government, and they see football not only as producing talent, but also making the society more giving something through sport to the society, and that's and northeastern players have become role models for their community, therefore and they go back and do a lot of community work as well, and they really drive participation into football, and they are very honest in what they do. Yeah, and that sincerity, that honesty, and the participation, and the opportunities locally is more and more. So therefore, they are doing much better compared to other parts of India right now.
Well, sir, moving on. What is your opinion about the current situation regarding the I League and the ISL? And what do you feel will be an amicable solution to this problem?
No, there is already done, because now there is a complete roadmap already agreed and already circulated, and it is, done that the ISL is the top league, I League is the second tier league, and that's how ISL champion, the league topper, is going to play the AFC Champions League. and it's very clear. And from 25-26 season, there will be a promotion relegation as well. So therefore, I think it's done and dusted now. So there is no confusion, there is no miscommunication right now. The structure is clear between I League and ISL, and I think this was required. That clarity, and now everything is absolutely clear, and that's how Mohan Bagan also gone and went and partnered now with ATK, and they have become a one entity for ISL, which is again a positive thing. What I feel is.
Well, we can see a lot of questions that our audiences have sent in. I would like to thank the audiences for sending in so many questions. And I would like to remind you that Dr. Shaji Prabhakaran here with us will be answering them very shortly after the next few questions. He will be going straight to the audience interaction part. I would also take this opportunity to welcome all the new spectators to Indian football business, a growing industry, brought to you by Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group. Through this webinar session, we are doing the soft launching of the Indian Football Business Awards that will be held in Kolkata in the month of December 2020. If any one of you want to get any other information about our company, you can go on and look up www.ideasports.com. And if you want any information on the Indian Football Business Awards, you can look up www.indianfootballbusinessawards.com. And also, if you want to watch or rewatch any of our webinars, you may go to Pink TV India on YouTube. Moving on, sir, we have come to the last set of questions that we have for you. We have seen that generally the top Indian players that play for the country, be it in the under 17 teams, be it in the national side now or in the last decade, they have been in the academy setup from an average age of about 12 years. While in European countries, we find that most top players who go on to become the Messis and Ronaldos, they have been in an academy setup right from the age of around 7 to 9 years old. Do you think this gap of a few years is making the difference for the development of Indian footballers?
No, see, it is not like that. They are, in Europe or America, South America, or other parts of the world. They go to the academy on a residential setup, on a elite model from a 7 year or 8 year old. No, it is not like that. The difference is in few aspects. Yeah, we are same. I have seen 11-year-old, 12-year-old across the world. They all are same. Our players are same at that level. The difference comes from 13, 14 onwards and up. Where that difference is because not because of academies, but the competitive structure. Yeah? And definitely the elite uh, player development model in India is still to become global. There is a huge gap right now because we don't have that many number of academies or clubs which are developing elite players. So elite player development is what India need to have, and that's where ISL or I League clubs have to play a major role. Right now, they might not be doing it, all of them, because of the resources, but going forward, they will definitely do it because that is where they will find value in terms of cutting their transfer cost, or getting more revenue out of sale of players. Yeah, and therefore huge possibility. What we need is we need a consistent system, consistent structure where more children can play football at the grassroots level from very young age, and they continue and without a break. Because we see that in India, the players, when they reach 14, 15, 16, 17, there's a huge dropout. Because there is the system and the structure right now is not enough to absorb all of them in the system. The opportunities are less, the matches are less, the competitive structure at the youth level, at the district level, or at the city level, or at the state level still is very, very weak in majority part of our country. So therefore, the best of the talents go out of the system, and we lose considerable number of talents. And it, so therefore what we need is, encourage more participation. And when there is a huge participation, we need to have the system to keep them in the game. Yeah. And we need to engage everyone, create the right model so that they continue to be there, and that is the major weakness. And if see world over, Messi gone to, when he was 13 years to, Barcelona, and he is there from, that age. He was not in the, say, that elite model of training when he was 7 or 8, but he was constantly getting opportunities to play, at the local level. Yeah, that's very important here. Our children doesn't get opportunities to play. Now just we started the Golden League and all, where the children are getting to play, but that still the window is very small. We need to enlarge this because our population still, we are 1.3 billion, but number of children playing football is still far, far less. This percentage has to grow, and that's where we will be able to find the talent. And we need to build a system and a structure whereby clubs plays an important role in youth development and elite player development. And elite player development, is all about science, and it's fully scientific. And we need, a competitive structure for elite players, and then they move to the top clubs, and that is what is required. So therefore the major difference is that the structure is what is missing in India compared to other parts of the world.
Well, sir, moving on from player development to the role of coaches. Well, do you think the Indian national team is getting the right coaches? Whose approach did you prefer between Stephen Constantine and Igor Stimac? And what is the style of play, sir, that you think is best suited to the Indian football team?
See, you know national team is all about result. Yeah, for me, whoever gives the best result, they are the best. It is how they play. At the end, it is no coach can really transform the style of play in a short duration. It is the culture, it is a culture which we need to build from the youth, from the youth level. And that's how they are, tuned to play in a particular level. We cannot, if the Spain is playing tiki taka, or others are playing, a very compact, fast paced, we cannot really copy paste here. Their culture is different, where they groomed the players that way. Our grooming is different, and the national team coach cannot really groom, those senior players to somebody else. Yeah, so therefore he will work with what is the strength of those players he has got, and he need to get the result. And the national team is not about, you have to impress with your style of play. You have to impress with your result, which is more important. And if you are not giving result, so for me, whoever they are, it doesn't make sense. Huh? So it's because without result, you might play very good football, attractive football, but what is, no, we want to have win. Say focus on style of play at the youth level, so that when they grow to senior level, then they are able to cope up with, that style. And we need to remain consistent. We have to have our own philosophy. We have to have our own style of play. We can't really, come to a different style each time as we have a new coach. No, we have to have our own Indian style of play, which is based on our own culture, our own mindset, our own players, what they are, groomed to. Like, we cannot expect, our players to play like, some other country, because their bottom, their nurturing, their structure, their level is very, very different. And that is where, we need to be consistent on our style of play, And if we remain consistent, okay, in a fifth year, sixth year, or a 10th year, or a 15th year, we will be able to consistently deliver that. Yeah, and people can associate, oh, this is the way we are playing, and this is well suiting us, based on our physicality, based on our skill level, based on our mind, you know, IQ, based on our system, what we got, because there is nothing can be copy pasted. Nothing can be copy pasted. It takes time to put a style into the game, and and it cannot be a coach centric. It has to be country specific, and every coach will come and influence his own philosophy, which will be counterproductive for us. That's what I believe.
Well, that was very enlightening, sir. Now, if we move ahead, what is your opinion about the AIFF regional academies?
See, right now there are no academies, regional academies, I believe, because that concept was initiated, because keeping under 17 World Cup in mind. Yeah, for 2017. That's how the regional academies were started in 2012 to begin with. Yeah, and there were the national team centers, the youth training centers, the youth national training centers were there in Goa before. That is there. So therefore, right now, and what I believe is the federation should never handle academies. It is the clubs, they have to do it, because it is a club, because they need players. Yeah, and that's how more and more players we will see. We cannot go with 30 players for 10 years training and see they are only representing our country. No, we need a 10,000 of players working with all the clubs of the same age group, and then we will find a best 20, 30 to represent the country. Because if we say, or select 30 best players in under 14 and keep them for 10 years, and they will produce miracle, no, it doesn't work that way. Then it was easy, for any country to produce a winning team. Yeah.
Well, sir, finally, we have come to the last question of this session, after which we will be moving into the audience interaction part. Sir, what do you think is the way forward for Indian football, and where do you see us in 10 years?
No, I see Indian football only, moving up the ladder, and in 10 years' time, we will have, I would say our league will be one of the best in Asia. Yeah, whether that is ISL, I'm sure it will continue. Whatever our top league will be, there will be the ISL will be the top league in Asia, and we will have more number of teams in the ISL, in the top leagues, and we will have more participation. And by that time, we will see either under 17 or under 20 or a women's youth team playing for a World Cup. Yeah, by that time, that's possibility. By 2030, we will see one of our youth teams qualifying for the World Cup. Yeah, and we will see a more commercially successful Indian football. Right now, still, it is not commercially that successful, because still, all the stakeholders are losing money. Yeah, even the top clubs, even the broadcasters lose big money. So that way, within the ecosystem, all will be able to gain a lot of commercially as well, and we will see more participation, more energy into the game. We will see more fans, and even we will see better stadiums, because we need football stadiums in India as well, because we don't have those football stadiums right now, which is, we can call it a modern football stadium, which is compact, which is really gives that energy to the players, because the even in best of our stadiums right now, it is far from that action. So we will see multiple things. What I see is that we will be far better. Our ranking will be definitely below 90, or I'll be within 70, I would say, if we continue to work hard. So there were huge possibility, and we will be in top 12 in Asia. That is sure.
Well, to hear something like that, sir, is extremely encouraging. So, before we move on to our audience interaction session, I want to ask you something which is totally pertaining to the initiatives of Ideas Unlimited Sports Management Group. Sir, how was your experience of this webinar session that we are conducting, not just with you, but the entirety of the program? And as you already know, we are coming up with the Indian Football Business Awards. So, if you could also give your views on that initiative.
No, I think you guys are, doing really very well to engage football fraternity, football fans, taking advantage of, COVID lockdown in the country. And I wish you very best for all your, whatever you are doing. And I'm sure you all will be, honest in every way towards football, towards whatever initiatives you will take, and you will do best to for yourself as well as for the game. And you I want to see you all successful in whatever you do. Yeah, and all the best for the award initiatives which you have taken, which will take place in December. I know you are working with some states as well, like Sikkim, Bihar, Bengal as well. So I wish you can work with many more states, and try to do the best you can. And there's a football has fabulous opportunities, and because as I said, we are working still at a 5% level. So you have a great future. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your kind words. We would now like to inform our audience that we would be moving into our audience interaction session, where Soham will join us and will ask sir all the questions that the audiences have submitted for him. And after that, I will be coming back for the closing of this session. So, Soham, if you could kindly pick it up from here.
Thank you so much, Indranil. Thank you so much. Hello, sir.
Hello. Hi. Hi.
Hello, sir. I hope you're having a great time answering all the questions.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's always.
So, sir, we received over 20 questions in our inbox, but due to the time constraint and due to the constraint of time, so we have only selected the best few. And so I'm starting off with a question about grassroots development. So here's a question from Suman Maithalangan. He says, what is your view on baby leagues as a development of grassroots in India?
I think it's a good initiative. Because it gives the platform for those 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old to play those weekly games. It's a very good initiative. Though I don't agree with the name baby there. Yeah, that's why in Delhi we haven't used. We have our own because we started much before the federation started. We call it Golden League because that is where we will unearth diamonds. Yeah, those talented kids which would require the right kind of nurturing going forward. So it's a great initiative. Name is just nothing worries me, but it's a great initiative, and it should exist everywhere. It should reach up to the panchayat level, and if that can happen, it would be wonderful.
Next question is from Aditya Vijay Kumar. He says that Sunil Chhetri is one of his interviews mentioned about the reserve game for reserve players at the very next day on the ISL venue where the previous ISL game was played. So do you feel this could be effective in giving more national team players more game time, and this would in turn help the national team in getting more players?
See, the reserve team concept, there in many leagues, but it's a good idea from Sunil it should happen in India, but economically, how far we are prepared, because it has a cost, and if reserve games also are televised, broadcasted, because then it will be motivational for those reserve players, because it need to have that competitive element. It cannot be like having a friendly match, yeah, and it should have certain value proposition, and it should also have certain attraction. Reserve side should also get some benefits, some kind of appreciation, and that the broadcasting is very important. They need to be televised, and there should be a league standing there as well, and the league winners must get something, so that they are also pumped in to give their best, because it is not only those reserve players trying to get into the playing 11, but also they are preparing themselves to market themselves well, so that they have the right value in the transfer market. And without broadcasting, and without the right element, it might not give the best output. But again, this is a this must happen, but economically I don't know how feasible right now is, I don't know. Yeah, but it should come.
Okay, sir. So the next question I just now received it is from Anand Narsiman. He says that what do you feel about a draft system like MLS in the States and how it would translate the game in our country?
See, we started with that process in ISL, but again, we did not continue, and it's now the same global system. So I think draft system gives you a control on a lot of aspect, competitive balance, yeah, and that's the strength of the draft. But then it doesn't gives you the flexibility to each team, yeah. If the team certain team has got better resources, better they have more aspirational, then it limits their opportunities. So therefore it is not an open system, yeah, and that is its drawback. So therefore the system which is open all across the world globally, I think that's the best system, where the clubs have the freedom to choose whomever they want, yeah, and whatever the price they are willing to pay, let them play, yeah. And why to restrict with certain limitations, and that's the drawback. So therefore this I'm my personal opinion is that this open system is much better, which is globally followed, except two one or two exceptions in the world.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Aditya again. He says that institutional clubs like Air India, ONGC, and Mahindra United have shut down. So do you feel they should start their operations once again as they can provide a fine talent to the national team like in the past?
See, the institution teams, they till 90s, till the start of I League getting professionalized, or the licensing system coming in, they were the torch bearers. They were the big clubs who were giving opportunities to our players. And it is sad that they gone out of Indian football. But we have to be take should have considered to keep them by floating a different league for them, yeah, which should have been, not a professional league, but a league for institutions, so that they continue to remain part of football, and they continue to provide opportunities to players, because employment is a big attraction in India, because it is not easy to get living in India, being part of football. Very few get opportunities to play big clubs, and the more the clubs, more the opportunity, better is for football. And for institutional teams, for department teams, we should consider a different competition, and that is where all that can be revived, and those who still continue, they get more energy, motivation to continue in the system, and more players then will get the opportunity to become part of football.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have come to the last of our audience questions. It's a question from Rohan Raj Pradhan. He says, while starting a grassroots program, what are the 5 most important points to emphasize on?
While starting a grassroots program, what five?
What are the few important points that people must emphasize on?
See, for grassroots football, the most important aspect is how one should engage with children. Yeah, and you have to keep things very simple. That is very important, and provide safe facility, which is very mandatory. Yeah, and who is delivering, they must have a very holistic approach. Yeah, it should not be uh, somebody who is a hard taskmaster, who is very very hard with children. They need they need a very soft handling and a very encouraging situation. Yeah, and very and every kid who is part of grassroots, they must must feel equally. What I say is that they at the end must feel that we were treated at par. Yeah, and that is very important. And then engaging the parents in the right way. Yeah, keeping their expectation right. Yeah, because don't start a grassroots program saying that I'll produce next Messi, or I'll produce next Sunil Chetri. Then you are not putting the right expectation in the minds of the parents. Start grassroots center with the objective to engage the players in a way they start loving this game, and it should become such a way that they, for their life, they should be linked to football, and they should not get any experiences which is bad, and then they will move out of the game. So therefore, it's very important, what is the program, who is the coach, who is delivering, what is the facility, yeah, and how you are communicating, how you are delivering. Yeah, all this is very important, and safety is very important. Safety is very, and it should exist near, yeah, locality wise. It is no fun, a kid is traveling 1 hour to play football. Yeah, it will kill their enthusiasm after a few weeks or few months. So it should be very localized, very important.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for answering all the questions. I'm sure our audience have got all their answers and doubts cleared. I want to thank my audience also for sending in so many questions. Thank you so much, and back to Indranil.
Thank you so much, Soham, for that. Thank you so much, Soham, for that. And thank you for our audience for sending in their questions for our guest. And thanks to our guest for answering them. So before we let you go, we have one final question for you. And that is regarding this horrific pandemic that we all are in. We all know that this is affecting all walks of life. If you could explain the effects that it would have on football in the coming months or years. And also, recently I've read somewhere that you have said that football or any sports for that matter has to begin for the sustainability of the broadcasters. If you could elaborate on that as well, sir.
See, this pandemic, has brought complete, pause to every sport. Yeah, and the most worrisome is nobody knows in this world when we can restart sport. Yeah, right now we can not really frame a time frame that okay, by January we can start, or by June we can start, or by October we can start. So this uncertainty really is bad for everyone in the ecosystem. Yeah, so therefore this uncertainty, I don't know when that will become certain, that okay, this is the time we can start. Yeah, so therefore various experts are coming and saying globally, oh, it is not safe to play in June, it is not safe to play in May, it is not safe to play in August, and some say it's safe to play in September. But in Indian situation we really don't know. Yeah, so that's a really bad for mentally for players, and for everyone whose livelihood was dependent on football. There are thousands of academies, football academies. Those coaches, those who were their bread and butter depended on their coaching sessions, and that is really bad. I really feel bad for all of them, how they will kind of survive in this situation, because it is not that they have earned millions so that they have a great saving, they can really manage for a few months. It's very difficult. So that's a big so overall it will have a huge impact commercially. There will be less sponsors, less money. Yeah, and stadiums will be no go place, because public transport will not be trusted, stadiums will not be trusted, because you will have that social distancing norms, which is not best option to go to a stadium right now. So therefore the stadiums will not be the place where, because it will severely impact the income that way. The match day revenue will be impacted, merchandising will be impacted. Yeah, and the coaching centers, the number of children will come down drastically, unless we see schools getting back to normal operations. So therefore, the whole ecosystem will get impacted, and it will take maybe 2 years to recover in a way. Yeah, what I feel is personally, but we can all pray. Some miracle will happen, so that everybody gets that positivity, energy, and confidence to back to normal. Yeah, and that is what is required, because this virus, if if can be killed at one go, maybe with vaccine, or maybe it diversifies in a way whereby we have the medicine to uh, treat. So therefore, it's scary right now. It's very, very scary, because nobody will take that risk, and nobody should take risk until unless it is everything becomes zero as far as virus is concerned. And coming back to the broadcasting aspect, what you said, see, the broadcaster in a sporting environment, in a sporting ecosystem, in the top of the pyramid, that's a professional football. It is a broadcaster who comes with the big money. Yeah, in some case it is 60%, some cases 30, some cases 40%. So it is in the range of 30 to 50% of your revenue coming through the broadcasting side only. And now with digitization, it will be much more objective going forward, where each unique viewer will have a certain value coming in. So what if the broadcaster is not able to get their revenue, therefore it is very difficult for the broadcaster to pass on the revenue to the sports, to the league. Yeah, so that is why it is important, the whole ecosystem. The broadcaster is the key. If the broadcaster is not able to earn their money, they will not be able to pass on. So therefore we in the ecosystem need to play a role whereby broadcaster feels safe enough to invest in football, and invest in our league. And that's how so that's why we need the overall positivity around the biggest properties, so that more fans view those games live. And if more fans viewing live means more revenue to the broadcaster, and the more revenue to the broadcaster means more money to the game. And right now they are committing money to the game without they are getting that kind of revenue from the market. So that's how it needs to grow, and then they will be sustainable. If they are not sustainable, they will move out of the business, because we need more competitiveness in the broadcasting sector as well. We don't want a monopolistic broadcaster situation with our sports, because monopolistic means the value will come down for a sports property, and that's not a ideal situation, because we need multiple players in our market, and going forward definitely we will have more broadcasters in our system, and that's how it will be more competitive, and it will the leagues will get more value and revenue, and then the clubs will also become sustainable, because the broadcasting money need to go down to the clubs, and then only they will be able to do those elite player development, invest in development, invest in grassroots, invest in right manpower, invest in science, analytics, infrastructure, everything. So the broadcaster plays a huge role in the sports industry, in a league, which is professional. Yes.
Well, sir, we all hope that we are freed from the clutches of this horrific pandemic as soon as possible and life returns to normalcy. And with that, we have come to the end of our session today. I would once again take this opportunity to thank our esteemed guest, Dr. Saji Prabhakaran. Thank you so much, sir. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for your time. A big thank you to, yes, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was pleasure, and my appeal to everyone is, stay safe, and maintain social distancing, and support each other, and let's use the power of football and sports to convey positive message, so that society feels positive about their life, so that they continue to remain positive, and as soon as the situation becomes normal, the lockdown goes out of our life, we will have a normal life in a way. So my best wishes to everyone. We will sure overcome this pandemic, but we need to really careful, and support each other, and take care of ourselves, very important, and take care of our family, and I'm sure we will all come back healthy and sound, and we will be as vibrant as we used to be, and we like to see the game on the field as fast as possible. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. We all hope for the same. A big thank you to all of our viewers for joining us today. And I would like to make this announcement that we will be back again tomorrow from 5 p.m. The topic for discussion would be social marketing and digital era in Indian football. And to speak on that, we will have with us Mr. Shubhabroto Chakraborty, founder and CEO, The Digital Fellow. Till then, take care, stay safe, everyone, and goodbye.